We will call this August 16th, 2021 meeting to order tonight. Our mayor is out of town tonight and will not be able to be with us, but I'm sure he's watching online. So everyone's here except for that. And I have one public announcement. If you're here for the Taffer's Tavern sign resolution, this application has been withdrawn from the applicant and will not be heard tonight. All right, if you would all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'll ask Ms. Pat Miller to come to the front of the room, please. It's awfully nice to have you. This gives me great joy tonight to have Ms. Pat Miller, the most recent president of the Alpharetta Old Milton County Historical Society, and we're going to recognize her tonight with a proclamation of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Ms. Pat Miller. Whereas Pat Miller led the Alpharetta Old Milton County Historical Society for 4 years, during which time the FFA log cabin was moved and restored, Pat has worked to make citizens aware of historic preservation issues. And whereas she spent hours working with the City of Alpharetta Historical Museum Committee, she also worked to make downtown historical markers more informative and to expand the marker program to properties outside of the downtown area. And whereas Pat Miller founded the North Fulton History Alliance, an organization that brings together presidents of the 4 North Fulton Historical Societies to explore ways they can work together to preserve our area history and to educate citizens about it. She appeared in the Alpharetta Stories Project and the Saving Farmhouse documentary. And whereas Pat Miller brought Wreaths Across America program to several Alpharetta cemeteries, Volunteers for Wreaths Across America honors our veterans by placing holiday wreaths on their graves. She is currently working to expand the program to Rest Haven, Alpharetta's largest cemetery, and has taught local volunteers how to properly clean headstones there. She also serves as the trustee of Alpharetta's Old Big Creek Cemetery. And whereas Pat Miller established local history reference sections at the Milton High School and several North Fulton County libraries, she has also assisted numerous citizens with genealogy research. Now therefore, we the City Council of the City of Alpharetta do hereby thank Pat Miller for your tireless support of Alpharetta and service to our community. We wish you continued success and enjoyment in your retirement from the Historical Society, which I know is never going to happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, please do.
I want you to know that when I first moved up here, I got involved with the History Museum, and Donald Mitchell was the first Alpharetta official I knew. But since then, I have worked with numerous people on the staff here in Alpharetta, and I just want you to know that Alpharetta is very fortunate to have them. Usually the answer when we ask for something is, let's see how we can make this happen. And I'd also like to thank the members of our board at the Alpharetta and Old Milton County Historical Society, because without their help and support, much of what we did couldn't have happened.
Thank you. Connie, would either of you like to come forward and say a few words about Pat? Pat, you've been a tireless advocate for history in Alpharetta, and you serve. I remember most about you, that you reached out to most people look into themselves and they want our society to be the best. Pat wasn't like that. She reached out to Roswell, you reached out to Johns Creek and Milton, helped them any way they could to expand their historical societies, because what's good for them is good for all of us. And so, Pat, thank you so much for all you do, and this is well deserved.
You're welcome, and I plan to keep on working on these things.
Awesome, I know you will. Thank you. All right, that moves us to our consent agenda, and that entails our financial management report, month ending June 30th, 2021, the council meeting minutes, public hearing on fiscal year 2022 millage rate levy 8-2-2021, council meeting minutes of 8-2-2021, the alcohol beverage license applications, and that's for PH 21 AB 22, Alpharetta Rooftop LLC, doing business as Up on the Roof, 33 South Main Street, Suite 500, Alpharetta, Georgia, and restaurant consumption on premises, liquor, beer, wine, and Sunday sales. The owner is Alpharetta Rooftop LLC, registered agent Wilson Oswald. Is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. I'd like to remove item A, the financial management report for month ending June.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, we don't need a second on that. So we'll remove that A, financial management report, month ending June 30th, 2021, and we'll vote on the remainder of that. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Burnett and a second from Councilmember Merkel. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. Motion carries 6. Okay. Is there any discussion on the financial management report month ending June 30th, 2021?
Yes, sir. I just, given that it was a year-end kind of report, I'd like to get Finance Director Tom Harris to come down, just give a synopsis of how the year's ended, and maybe a couple of council members have questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the year-end report. Obviously, it's pre-audit. Still have some accruals of revenues that will come in after year-end that we post back, as well as some of the expenditures like payroll accrual for the last month that we end up booking to the numbers. But it was a very good quarter, and as we started seeing the effects of COVID and the return of the businesses, so the revenues for the year look like, from the standpoint of what we budgeted to what we project actually to get, it's going to be one of the probably largest numbers or deltas that we've had for several years now, in the sense that we show on the report that it's probably $5.2 million of revenues greater than what we had budgeted. And on the expenditure side too, we could be upwards towards $4 million, $3 to $4 million of unspent budget. So very good. Obviously, we had to be conservative. We adjusted the budgets. We adjusted departments. We held them back, and froze some positions, et cetera, and just put the brakes on some of the spending, and that helped us have what's going to turn out to be a very good fiscal year from the standpoint of fund balance, or dollars dropping to the bottom line. So that's about it. A lot of going forward, a lot of these things it's good that the local option sales tax, et cetera, are getting back to numbers very similar to pre-COVID. So any questions?
Ben Burnett, please.
Thank you.
Councilmember Burnett.
Ben's fine. Can you, of the items that you saw, what was the biggest surprise to your finance department with respect to outperforming what was budgeted? I know you mentioned the local option sales tax. What else was there?
Well, actually, probably believe it or not, motor vehicle title tax, but that sort of goes along that same way, that the economy was back and people were buying a lot of vehicles, or the prices were escalated as well. So the 7% that we get on those was a pretty high number, over budget.
Last question for you. If you had to guess, including emergency reserves, how much cash on hand, free cash flow, does the city of Alpharetta have?
We generally don't fall below 40 million.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay. I'd like to comment on some specifically. Our local option sales tax is 4% higher, Tom, is that correct?
Correct. Than the previous year, I believe.
Than the previous year. Our motor
Time period, yeah.
and motor vehicle tax is 44% higher?
Correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, this year, we will meet the lag because of COVID as a city. Our 3-year plan to get things back in order will be met in half that time. Is that correct? Can you elaborate on that if things continue?
Yeah, I haven't completely put all the numbers down, but clearly generating $10+ million for fund balance, helping us fund that capital, and then projecting into this year, it is much ahead of schedule.
Okay.
It could be cut in half, but we still need to look at some things. You know, we hopefully don't get headwinds on everything, but right now it's a prettier picture than when we had some of those discussions earlier.
So overall, as a city, our finances are in great shape compared to most any other city in the state.
I think we did our part as mayor and council and staff to put in place the necessary cuts to deal with the revenues down, you know, because they were down, obviously, because of COVID, and got a balanced budget, and we just got to work the plan. So, but we're in good shape.
And we only have 11 positions, if I'm correct, that are not filled, and that's because of financial management.
Correct.
And when we can refill those, there's only 2 police on that. We will do so, but moving forward, it seems to be trending very much in the right way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, Ben, Councilmember Burnett.
Still Ben.
Okay.
Director Harris and Bob, one of the things that I have seen is the state has in several grant matches, one's for broadband, which I'm sure we don't qualify for as a rural broadband municipality. Economic development is another, and the third is for
Water and sewer,
an infrastructure.
which includes stormwater.
Includes stormwater. Do we have funds available to match? Is that a part of what we're going to be looking to as the Governor Kemp has freed up almost what seems to be almost $1 billion?
Right.
Do we have plans moving forward to create revenue sources for projects where we may be able to fast track things? Tom, I don't know if you've talked about it, or Bob.
Well, from everything we know, well, we could use some of the fund balance to match, grants if we don't get all that we're asking for. But we're going to be very aggressive in asking for everything we need for the North Point corridor and other areas.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. And I would encourage anyone from the public who has any questions just to call Tom up. We have an open book policy here. I think it's good to be educated on what our actual finances are as a city, and we're in great shape. Ask any questions you want of him and get the facts straight. Thank you. Sure, Tom. What's your cell number so I can give that out? At this point, if there are no further questions regarding our budget, do we have a motion to add that item back to our consent agenda and vote on it?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the financial management report with the month ending June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Jason Binder. We have a second from Councilman Burnett. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. All right, that completes our consent agenda. Now we move on to public hearing. PH 21-11, City of Alpharetta Capital Improvement Element, and its consideration of a resolution adopting the 2020 Capital Improvement Element CIE and annual report. And I believe Mr. Graves has this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You may recall several weeks ago, I came before you and we requested a letter to transmission resolution to provide our capital improvement element and annual report to the Atlanta Regional Commission and for review and a document. We have received the review back, and they had no comments on our report. And tonight we're asking for that annual report and capital improvement element to be adopted. And we do have a resolution.
Yes, we do. At this point, Mr. Thomas, would you read the resolution?
A resolution of the City Council of Alpharetta, Georgia, for the adoption of the capital improvements element and annual report. Whereas the Georgia Planning Act encourages local governments to keep their comprehensive plans current in order for the plans to be used for policy guidance and as management tools for daily decisions. And whereas the capital improvements element and annual report was prepared in accordance with the development impact fee compliance requirements and the minimum planning standards and procedures for local comprehensive planning established by the Georgia Planning Act of 1989, and a public hearing was held on August 16, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at the City Hall of Alpharetta, Georgia. And whereas the City of Alpharetta has received notification from the Atlanta Regional Commission that the Georgia Department of Community Affairs has, on July 23, 2021, issued a finding of fact that the capital improvements element adequately addresses the local planning requirements. And whereas such updates are required to extend status to the City of Alpharetta as a qualified local government, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Alpharetta hereby adopts the update of the capital improvements element and annual report, transmitting these documents to the Atlanta Regional Commission per the Georgia Planning Act of 1989.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. At this point, do we have any questions from council? Ms. Cobb, do we have any questions from the public?
We do not, sir.
No comment cards. If there's anyone who wishes to make a comment on this item, you're welcome to come forward. And at any point, you can come forward and state your name and address, and we'd be happy to hear from you. All right. Thank you. At this point, I'll move on and ask for any discussion from council. All right. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'll offer a motion to approve PH-21-11, City of Alpharetta Capital Improvement Element, and the resolution is read by Mr. Sam Thomas.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Richard and a second from Councilmember Binder. All those in favor of the item, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, no. Thank you. That is carried unanimously. And now that moves us on to boards and commissions appointments. We have an appointment from an alternate member to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And Ms. Richard, I believe you have this item.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I would like to offer the appointment of Mr. Cliff Cobb as the alternate to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, I've known Cliff for a number of years. He and his wife Janice have been in Wynwood for probably 2 decades now. And he's retired recently from his law practice and is very interested in having an opportunity to serve the city. He was the president of the WCSA Association in the last year. So I'm excited to have Cliff join as the alternate for the BZA. Thank you.
Do we have a motion on this item?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'll offer a motion to appoint Cliff Cobb to the alternate BZA position.
Second.
Okay, again, I think I did that. We have a motion from Karen Richard and a second from Burnett, Councilmember Burnett. All right, all those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. Okay, that carries unanimously, and I think Mr. Cobb will make a great addition to our Board of Zoning Appeals. Thank you, Ms. Richard. All right, that brings us to new business and an award of residential curbside solid waste and recycling collection services, RFP 21-05. Mr. Harris, you have that again.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In May, our department issued RFP 21105 for the purpose of contracting with a hauler to supply the weekly curbside solid waste, yard waste, recycling, and glass collection services, and as well as bulky waste. We got 5 responses. My department and community development, somebody from community development, and also from Public Works were part of the team to evaluate the request for proposals. Way we had the criteria set up is that references and experience was 25 points, technical approach, the key personnel and their resources, kind of trucks they're going to have, et cetera, and whether they can supply that. It was 35 points, and the cost was established at 40 points. The winner of that process was Republic Services. As we really were looking at best value, but just to note the cost, Republic had was also the lowest cost provider inside that criteria, but they if you were just doing it on cost alone, they would have clearly went way ahead of everybody. So they won it on overall points though overall, but if we went to the next vendor, that would be about 1.35 million annually to our residents. Anyways, the rates are here. The charges that they're going to charge us is going from, it's a 4% increase from the last year's, this 1 year renewal that we're currently under. It's a 4% increase because this contract would begin if we get it awarded tonight, is April 1st, 2022. So those rates are $29.76 per month per 95 gallon and glass recycling. There's obviously a tiered approach for senior discount, et cetera. I'm trying to think what else I need to say. So we're going to, the contract is also going to ask for a annual CPI increase not to exceed 4%. The CPI being based on, I believe it's a water, sewer, trash collection CPI, specific CPI. But it's a 7-year contract with 3 1-year renewals. So we will create that contract in accordance to how they responded to the RFP and maybe flush out some other things and get that signed. But tonight is asking that the mayor gets approval to execute the contract.
Are there any questions from council? Are there any questions from council at this time? Councilmember Binder.
So one of the services that we have is bulk trash pickup that a lot of the other cities really don't have. So would that continue?
It's
If
in
you-
these
you
rates
call ahead?
continued, yeah. I think we put some, changed it a little bit, and I just don't recall that right now, but when we wrote the RFP, we sort of moved a little bit more where you only get one item a week or one item every 2. I can't recall what it actually is, but we did tighten it up a little bit.
Okay. And to reiterate what you said is tonight you're really looking forward to us asking us to move forward with continuing with awarding the contract to Republic Services, but then we have some time between now and April maybe to define what the scope of services would be, giving into account what we want to do, the price increases that are happening industry-wide and that sort of thing. So council can work with that before the mayor submits the final contract, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? I do have one question, and I'm sure you've addressed this, but we've gotten several emails about the solid waste pickup and complaints that it has been left there and they've called again, and I know Brad is in the audience tonight. How is that going to be addressed moving forward? I know one constituent, I promised her that we would discuss that tonight, and so can you follow up?
Yeah, part of our final approval process with Brad and them is we did sit down and talk about some of the things that they need to work on with us as far as making sure that communicate. Brad could come up and spell it out better than I can. We feel pretty confident that now he's got a right-hand person to directly handle these complaints that's been with them the last few months, and we've seen a big improvement in the last few months with that. We right now you probably will hear from some of our residents, or you may hear from residents that they see something down the street not picked up. Part of that is also now, timing is everything, and we probably didn't time this right, but we're working with Republic very much to those that have not paid, and there's quite a few over a period of time, and they were still getting serviced and picked up, and we weren't paying Republic to pick it up, and they're not paying us as a resident. They have now logged that better and are not picking them up until they set up service or pay us back. So that is a process to go through that, and we are getting complaints, but then we're getting people to pay and say, okay, I owe you, and I can get my trash picked up. So without that, you're just not going to get it picked up. I mean, you're never going to solve the problem. So they are having some of those issues, but I feel confident now that we have a good team with them to address these issues.
Okay, thank you, sir. Brad, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Just one thing, Mayor and Council, saying to that issue. The last 18 months, we all know how COVID's impacted the city, additional trash at the curb. Our main emphasis has been making sure the city gets cleaned up. It's this process with payment, not servicing, kind of fell by the wayside for a little bit. We feel like working with Tom's staff, our process is sound. We've started to ramp that back up. So don't foresee that being an issue going forward.
Okay. I know you advertise a 99.9% reliability rate as far as solid waste pickup. And I have heard from quite a number of residents who, and whether they've paid their bill or not, I don't know. But if they normally write into council, they've paid their bill, but it just got missed. And then when they call, there's not a return call from the switchboard. And so that's been an issue, and I hope that can, I understand that there are employment issues, everyone's had them, and I understand that's been especially harsh in your area, but I hope we can address those moving forward as we discuss the continued contract.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you, Tom. All right. At this point, we will move on to dual access security software. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to vote on this. Forgive me. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while. So, all right. Is there any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
Thank you so much. Forgive me. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item? We're talking about trash here. It's a good time. All right. At this point, I will ask for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move that we award Republic Services with the sanitation collection services as described in the response to RFP 21-105 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Binder and a second from Councilmember Richard. All those.
Can I get a clarification real quick?
Sure.
Just for the record, you mentioned 21-105. I believe it's just 21-05.
2105.
That's right.
We're going to need a clarification because it's on the recommendation as 21.105 and 21.05.
You can. I just want to make sure because it's showing online as 05 and it's showing on my sheet as 05.
I think it's 21-105.
Okay, in our packets, it's 21-05.
On the recommendation, it was a coin flip. It had both numbers on the same page.
Okay. Okay.
Go with 105.
So for RFP 21-105, we have a motion from Councilmember Binder and a second from Councilmember Richard for approving this item. All those in favor, please vote accordingly, and those opposed, vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Now we will move on to dual access security software annual renewal, and Mr. Bundy, I believe you have this item.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Yes, this is for our annual renewal of our software. This software provides security for our city systems, two-factor authentication for identity management. CDWG LLC was the low-cost provider on our bidding process. So therefore, I ask that you award the CDWG LLC as the low-quote vendor to provide for 1 year of maintenance and support of the Dual Access Edition software for the City of Alpharetta in the amount of $51,840, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Thank you, Mr. Bundy. Are there any questions from council? Ms. Aaron, do we have any comment, or I'm sorry, Ben, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, Ms. Aaron, do we have any comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item? The dual access security software annual renewal. Okay, seeing no one. I'll ask for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Pro Tem, I would like to offer a motion to approve the Duo Access Security Software contract to CDWG LLC as a low-cost vendor, an amount not to exceed $51,840, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilmember Burnett and a second from Councilmember Hypes on the CDW-G LLC. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those no, vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have the Equipment Refresh CIP 2022, also with Mr. Bundy.
Yes, thank you so much. This request is to provide for the annual replacement of technology for all city departments. Technology will be procured through multiple sources, including state contracts, Dell and Apple products, and the city quote process as applicable. We ask for your approval of this request to provide for the annual replacement of technology for all city departments in FY 2022 in the amount of $300,000, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bundy. Any questions from council on this item? Ms. Cobb, do we have any comment cards?
We do not, sir.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item? All right, I'll ask for a motion from council.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I'd like to offer a motion to approve the equipment refresh and the capital improvement plan for 2022 in an amount not to exceed $300,000, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Burnett, Councilmember Burnett, and a second from Councilmember Merkel, and an amount for the Equipment Refresh CIP 2022 in an amount not to exceed $300,000. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
We will move on to D, the traffic signal preemption maintenance. And Mr. Sasevich, you have this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the traffic signal preemptive signal system maintenance. Sorry about that. We used to have an Opticon system. A couple years ago, we contracted with Temple through an RFP, and that system's been working very well. It works off of GPS devices in the fire apparatuses. What we're looking forward to doing is, earlier last year, we did a test run, and we did a pilot program for Temple to do inspections, as well as one of the vendors to do repairs, and that worked out very well for us. Tonight, we're requesting a one-year contract with Temple at $65,020, and a maintenance contract for them for maintenance to be done based off those inspections to Metro Traffic for $28,400.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Ms. Cobb, do we have any questions or comment cards from the public?
We do not, sir.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? All right. I will ask for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I offer a motion that we approve the traffic signal preemption maintenance to Temple, Inc., and to Metro Traffics, LLC, for an amount not to exceed $93,420.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion from Councilmember Hypes and a second from Councilmember Merkel. And this is for the traffic signal preemption maintenance in an amount not to exceed $93,420. All those in favor of this?
I'd just like to add before
Yes,
we vote on this particular matter, you know, we do these appropriations, and sometimes it gets a little routine and a little numbing. We budget these items and then we appropriate the money. But this is, you know, I think this is a very cool thing that our fire trucks can move through intersections with traffic preemption. And I'm assuming that not all cities have that.
Correct.
And so what we're about to do is keeping our citizens safer, shortening response time, and taking advantage of technology, thanks to Pete and public safety. So, you know, for anybody who's listening in or taking note, I think this is a very cool thing that we're doing and a very prudent thing. So don't want it to be lost. It's just another appropriation. So.
Thank you, Mr. Hipes. That's a great comment, and it's so true. Any other comments from council? Okay. I will call for a motion then. We have a motion from Councilmember Hipes and a second from Councilmember Merkel. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, please vote no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
And you might as well stay up there, Pete. I've asked the other council members, these would normally be my motions, but since I'm in this chair tonight, I've asked for each council member to share in them. So the next item is FY 2022 Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant.
Yes, this the LMA grant for 2022. You could put towards a lot of different items: pavement markings, utility repair, patchwork. We put it towards milling and resurfacing. So we're going to receive $632,000 from the state of Georgia through GDOT, and we apply that to our milling and resurfacing program. And there is a resolution associated with this.
Mr. Thomas, could you read that at this time?
A resolution to authorize the mayor and city council to submit a FY22 local maintenance and improvement grant application to the Georgia Department of Transportation, whereas the Georgia Department of Transportation made available funding under the fiscal year 2022 local maintenance and improvement grant program, and whereas such funding may be used to fund transportation improvement projects such as adding turn lanes, milling and resurfacing, or repairing bridges. And whereas the Georgia Department of Transportation has allocated the city of Alpharetta $632,365.16 for fiscal year 2022 through the program's funding allocation formula. And whereas the city of Alpharetta must include an additional 30% match for the project. And whereas the city of Alpharetta desires to see this funding to complete milling and resurfacing along 35 roads in the city. And whereas evidence authorizing the acceptance of said application must be provided, now therefore be it resolved the 16th day of August 2021 by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta that the submission of the fiscal year 2022 local maintenance and improvement grant application is hereby approved, and the mayor is hereby authorized to execute the necessary award package with directives under the local maintenance and improvement grant program.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. At this point, are there any questions from council regarding this item? Ms. Cobb? Any comments from the public?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyone wishing to make a comment from the public? Have to ask it, sorry. All right. At this point, do we have a motion for this item?
Yes, sir. But before I do, Councilmember Hipes asked me to remind everyone that also grants for right-of-way acquisition, street lighting, beautification, and streetscapes and walking trail tracks and tracks are also a cool thing. So, but with that, I move that we adopt the attached resolution providing approval of the submission of the fiscal year 2022 local maintenance and improvement grant application to the Georgia Department of Transportation and authorize the mayor to sign the submittal letter and application forms.
Thank you. Any second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilmember Binder and a second from Mr. Burnett. Any discussion on this item? Yes, sir, Mr. Burnett.
Pete and Bob, you guys are tireless partners. I know this looks like a local thing and it's nothing exciting about milling and resurfacing, but the fact that you guys have such a remarkable relationship with Russell McMurray and the state of Georgia, they can give this money to somebody else, and it doesn't go unnoticed, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to add, those are great comments. And because of this motion that we're making tonight and the approval of this grant, 35 of our streets will get milling and resurfacing, and that's no small order for our city. And I think as a city, we stay up on our milling and resurfacing as well as any other city in the state. It's a recurring capital item. We fund it, we do it, and our neighbors don't have to worry about a pothole in Alpharetta because you and your crew, if there's a call, it's generally taken care of within 1 day. So thank you, Pete, and to all your staff for that as well. Please do pass it on. All right, at this point, do we have a motion for this item? We have the motion, I'm sorry, Mr. Binder and Mr. Burnett for the local maintenance and improvement grant. I will ask for a vote. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. And now we'll move to FY 2022 Milling and Resurfacing, ITB 22-001.
Yes, so we're going to take the $632,000 and apply it to our milling and resurfacing bid, and we received 5 bids, and Bartow Paving was the low bid at $2,706,131, and we will be milling and resurfacing 54 roads throughout the city, as well as performing soil cement, which is basically pulverizing the existing asphalt and subbase and putting down a new subbase due to the inability to simply do milling and resurfacing on that road. It's been past deterioration. The project will be completed by July 1st, 2022.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Any questions from council on this item? Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
Okay. At this point, I'll ask for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I will offer a motion to award bid number 22-001 to Bartow Paving Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $2,706,131.16 for the FY 2022 Milling and Resurfacing Project, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Richard and a second from Councilmember Burnett. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote on this item, ITB 22-001, Milling and Resurfacing. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. And the motion carries unanimously. That brings us to G, on-call stormwater pipelining services.
Yes, this is another infrastructure need that the department has. We went out for an RFP for our cured in place pipelining, which is basically placing an insert in a failing pipe, or a spin cast technique, which is basically a cast is basically dyed around the whole entire inside of the corrugated metal pipe, sealing all the joints, sealing all the cracks. Our 2 vendors that were selected were IPR for the cured in place and UAM for the spin cast, and we already had a work list of projects be accomplished, and we're requesting $990,874.50 to be allocated to IPR, and $209,077 be allocated to utility asset management to perform their work.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sasevich. Any questions on this item from council? Councilmember Hypes.
Director Pete.
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the initial estimate versus the actual estimate on the Excel spreadsheet that's in the packet, and how firm the actual estimate is?
So the spreadsheet number that everyone is of all the pages is our to-do list that comes through. That's all the work orders that we have in the department right now regarding where the pipes are. The estimate is basically a formula that we've used from past years. They're fairly close. We don't know the full price until we get out in the field, so we're asking for an allocation. So the numbers usually come in less than what we ask for due to traffic control measures, as well as estimates that we have for improvements occurring in the right-of-way. Sometimes we have to take down a bush and replace a bush. Sometimes we have to work around a bush. because we're working in people's backyards and their side yards.
Well,
They're pretty accurate.
yeah. For the benefit of the public and as part of this question, from my understanding, like the very first line on the spreadsheet, corrugated metal pipe, Sherry Drive, it's a 1.5-foot diameter pipe. We're going to do 31.5 feet. The initial estimate was $3,761.
Yep.
The actual estimate is $4,325. What's the time period to, I'm trying to understand why it's gone from one price to another price for the same length of pipe.
The initial estimate was when the inspection took place. So we're looking at some cases 3-4 years ago, and we're got that much of a backlog in the queue. So these are pricing is from our original calculations when we got the initial inspections.
And the actual estimate is how recent?
The actual is based off of the hard cost is within the last month and a half. When the consultant or the vendors did their bid, they had to do a unit price per linear foot for per size pipe for the material that they're working with.
And this is one of these things that fascinated me after I started participating on council. Like, for example, line number 1 with the actual estimate, that's $137 per foot to line, and that's the least expensive option to line it versus to replace it, correct?
Sir.
So, and $137 a foot to line these corrugated metal pipes or other pipes, that's not even the lowest per unit cost, is it? 137. I mean, some of it's more than 130.
Correct. Yes. The larger the pipe size, the greater it's going to be, as well as the working conditions you're in.
Yeah. So with respect to budgeting and costs and how much pipe that we can actually address, you feel like the actual estimate's pretty close?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there any further questions from council? Okay, Mrs. Cobb, any comment cards on this item?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to a motion. Do I have a motion for this item?
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I would like to make a motion to approve the 5-year contract for RFP number 21-112, storm pipelining services to the following contractors, and approve the FY 2022 allocations for pipe repairs at various locations as outlined in the document. Authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents, and those contractors are as follows. IPR Southeast LLC, approved funding for an amount not to exceed $990,000, $990,874.50. And number 2 is Utility Asset Management for Spincast, and approve the FY funding in an amount not to exceed $209,077.
Woo. Thank you, Councilmember Burnett. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, we have a second from Councilmember Merkel. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, we have a motion to approve the RFP number 21-112, storm pipe lining services. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, please vote no. And the motion carries unanimously. Next is FY 2022 skid steer loader replacement.
Yes,
Mr. Sasevich?
Yes, thank you. This is one of our budgeted equipment replacements. And we went through state contract at first for this, and then in our due diligence of working through the state contract, we called a couple other vendors up, and we found out that Cobb County Tractor had a lower price. So we're requesting Cobb County Tractor to, at $78,500, replace a skid steer.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Could you pronounce what kind of track loader that is?
Taguchi.
Taguchi, all right, thank you. Any other questions from council? Ms. Cobb, do we have any comment cards?
We do not, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Do we have a motion from council?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we approve the purchase of a Taguchi TL12VT track loader from Cobb County Tractor in the amount of $78,500.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Merkel and a second from Councilmember Richard to approve the Takuchi TL 12 V2 track loader from Cobb County.
Question.
Yes, sir. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
If we're able to get it for less, can we make the motion not to exceed 78,500?
Oh, I would think we could. Mr. Merkel and Ms. Richard?
I mean, I'll accept it, but it's not necessary according to our charter.
I'll accept.
Thank you.
They are allowed to go over a percentage.
Ooh.
All right, we're good. Yes.
Okay.
Don't exceed.
I won't exceed.
Just in case we could get it for less, I didn't want to have to spend that much money.
Exactly. So for those who didn't hear the discussion online, it's not to exceed 78,500 from the Cobb County Tractor business. So, all right, all those in favor, please vote accordingly, and all those opposed, vote no. Okay, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. Pete, we will move on to FY 2022 storm pipe cleaning services.
This is one of the most important things that we actually take care of. We contract out is cleaning out the catch basins, cleaning out the pipes with all the debris and the leaves and the soil that makes its way in there before the corrugated metal pipe or even the concrete joints have a chance to deteriorate. We have an on-call vendor, Southern Hydrovac, and we're requesting $200,000 to be allocated to them on a PO, perform various tasks throughout the city.
Yes, I'm about to ask for questions from council and Mr. Burnett.
Thank you. So how does this work? If a resident calls in and they feel like is it drains? I guess it's drains.
Catch basins, yes.
Catch basins or
Pipes, anything carrying stormwater.
And so $200,000 covers us for the whole year. Like you could just get flooded with calls.
We're asking for $200,000 based off of previous work that we've done. If we need additional funds, we'll come back in front of council.
Okay, because I was like, if that's an all-inclusive deal, that's incredible, and we should probably do it. But thank you.
And Pete, I have a question just as a reminder. I spoke with an engineer. She lives in Windward. She crawled down the Windward Dam pipe that was 40 inches, but she can also utilize our robot. Is that being utilized before we clean these out?
That's how we basically find out that where the problem exists, so that we just don't have the vendor go out there and say, oh, we think there's 100 feet and half of it's clogged. We'll know the exact location where the clog takes place. We take a picture of that, and then we know if we're dealing with half clogged, quarter clogged, so we get a better estimate.
I told her about that. She crawled down a 300-foot pipe just so she could inspect it herself. And
Yeah,
so I told her we had that robot capability. So, all right. Any other discussion from council? Okay. Ms. Cobb, do we have any comments cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
Okay, moving on. Do we have a motion on this item?
Yes, I'd like to offer a motion to authorize funding in an amount not to exceed $200,000 to Southern Hydrovac under the terms and conditions of the city's existing on-call storm pipe cleaning services contract, and to authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Do we have a second on this item?
Second.
Okay, thank you all. We have a motion from Councilmember Hypes and a second from Councilmember Burnett. Any more discussion? Okay, we will proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Pete, I know you're getting tired.
Oh, we're good.
We'll move on to FY 2022 chipper truck replacement.
Yes, this was approved also in the budget. We are replacing a 1994 truck that we use for our hauling all our debris from we chip from when a tree falls down through a storm or just nature itself down, Mother Nature. And or if we have a hazard dealing with eye pokers with sidewalks and we got to prune everything up. So we have the chipper we got last year. This year we're getting the chipper truck replaced. And we're going through a state contract at an amount of $101,093.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mr. Sasevich. Any questions from council? Ms. Cobb, do we have any comments from the public?
We do not, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion on this item?
Yes, sir. I move that we approve the purchase of a Freightliner M2-106 chipper truck utilizing state contract 9999-SPD-00000155-0007 from Peach State Truck Center in the amount of $101,093. Is that contract right?
Yeah, I'll second that. All the numbers.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Binder and a second from Councilmember Merkel. And do we have any discussion on this item? And I believe Councilmember Hypes.
I would just like to observe about the city getting a bang for its buck. A 1994 vehicle under Georgia law qualifies for an antique license plate because it's over 25 years old, so good job.
All right. Any other comments? Councilmember Merkel.
I also remember discussions during budget cycle last year. Pete was looking to replace his truck a while ago. Might have been 2 years even ago now. And he got some duct tape and wire and said, I'll hold on for another year, and then it turned into 2 years. So a lot of stuff got bought while you guys are over there keeping that thing together with baling wire. So not that you have to do it again, but appreciate you did it. Thank you.
Thank you. So true. All right, at this point, we'll ask for a vote for the Freightliner M2-106 chipper truck utilizing state contract 9999 SPD from Peach State Truck Center. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Now we get into the fun stuff. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah,
all right.
Last one.
The last one for you tonight, or well, not the last one, but the Encore Greenway Park. Can you fill us in and up to date on that item?
So for you, Mayor and Council, we have the North Fulton CID Board this past month with our August meeting allocated $200,000 towards the design of Encore Greenway Park, which is this area here and this big circle, the oval ring. And what we failed to do the last time we received funds from North Fulton CID was to execute a memorandum of understanding between the city and the CID. So tonight we're asking for take the the $230,000 that was awarded last time through the CID and the Alpharetta, add the additional $200,000 that they just awarded this past month, total of $430,000 into an MOU between the city and the CID for the design of the Encore Greenway Park. And then working with our consultant, we discovered that we needed an additional $43,000, and that $43,000 is going towards permitting and additional soil borings all around here and this area right here. And the goal for that is, instead of grading in the floodplain, they're looking at doing more things on piers, and that will minimize the impact to the environment. It's more structurally, but we need to know what type of soil we're dealing with to adequately design the footings. So the bad part too is we're looking at about a 90-day extension to AECOM's contract. However, they are on schedule for the Greenway aspect connection in the gateway area, this part right here. So that's going to keep moving forward, and then we'll need additional 90 days added to our contract. So probably the fall of next year, the design of the park and all its components will be accomplished.
Okay. And Pete, just to fill the public in, this is a proposed Greenway Park that is right across from the Encore Bridge where it comes into North Point. If you look to the right, the car wash is over there, and this is on the north side of that street.
Yeah, the car wash is sitting right there. North Point Mall is up here, and that's Encore Parkway right here.
And most of council feels like this would be a signature piece that will help development along the North Point corridor, North Point district, as we seek redevelopment, and it'll be something that, as far as a public nature, that will spur private development.
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion or questions from council? at this point. Ms. Cobb, do we have any comment cards?
We do not, sir.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I offer a motion to please approve the change order 1 in the amount not to exceed $243,000 to AECom for the additional design services and completion of construction plans associated with the Encore Greenway Park, and authorize the mayor to execute all documents, including the MOU with North Fulton CID.
Second.
Okay, on this one, I will go with Richard,
Parks, I think.
Councilmember Richard, and then Councilmember Binder as a second on this item. Any further discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd just like to thank the North Fulton CID and Pete and Kathy for all your work on this particular project. I think that we all agree this is pivotal to the North Point redevelopment area, and very grateful for the partnership with North Fulton to help us out with this. Thank you.
Pass it along. Thank you.
Yes, and I would only add to thank Brandon Beach for carrying the water on this as far as getting the funding from the CID. They always step up to the plate for us here in Alpharetta and help out any way they can, and this is going to be a beautiful addition. CID has done much of the flagstone that you see throughout the North Point district, and this is a combination of flagstone and more of a modern entrance that we think will spur modern development there. So thank you very much. At this point, we have a motion from Councilmember Richard.
I would like to add in there,
I'm sorry.
as a liaison to Parks, this was a big part of Parks.
It is.
Was the layout, and Morgan Rogers is not here tonight, but he had a huge part in this as well, so I want to make sure he's recognized.
Thank you, Councilmember Merkel. That's correct. All right. I'll ask for a motion, or we have a motion from Councilmember Richard and a second from Councilmember Binder. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. Jason? Okay, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete. Good job tonight. Next, we come up with L, the Temporary Outdoor Operations Permit Program. And Ms. Cook, I believe you have this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Councilman Burnett asked that I bring this forward, and this is the Temporary Outdoor Operations Permit Program. Mayor and Council had approved this program back in April of 2020, and it permits businesses to expand outdoor seating into the right-of-way and parking spaces in an effort to prevent indoor crowding and safer conditions. The program was really successful. We had about 20 businesses that participated, and it recently ended in May of 2021. However, after, I guess, Councilman Burnett and others looked at the latest Fulton County Board of Public Health report on COVID activity, we see that that has been increasing in the 14-day incident rate. So staff is bringing it forward to see if council would like to extend that program for another 60 days. And this would not include banners. Originally, last year, we had the extra banners, but that was basically because we had so few businesses that were open, so it permitted people to be able to see who's open and who's not. So recommendation is to extend the program for 60 days. And I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Are there any questions from council at this time? Councilmember Hypes.
I just want to commend Councilman Burnett for bringing this forward to council. And I think as soon as it was presented to us, we all said, yeah, that's a great idea. So thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Cobb, do we have any comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
Okay, thank you. I will ask for a motion then for the Temporary Outdoor Operations Permit Program.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I would like to make a motion to approve the temporary outdoor operations permit that will last for 60 days, and I am regretful that we're about to enter a tropical storm.
That was from Hypes or Binder? Okay. We have a motion from Councilmember Burnett and a second from Councilmember Hypes. Any further discussion? anything we can do to help our businesses continue to survive as this new Delta variant comes along, I think is helpful for restaurants. So thank you all for bringing it forward. We'll take a vote now. All those in favor of this item, please vote accordingly. All those opposed, vote no. The motion carries unanimously. That is the end of our new business, and now we enter into workshop and the recommended amendment to the speed zone ordinance. And Mr. Sisevich, you have this item as well.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. This is as a workshop, so it's for collaboration back and forth. There has been a oversight on one of the items in here. It's Mid-Broadwell Road, or if you want to go Milton Avenue. It wasn't supposed to be Wills Road, it was supposed to be Wills Drive, was the oversight. And in speaking to the public as well, we're also looking to get a traffic study going down Mid-Broadwell west of Wills Road to see if that could get reduced from a 40 to a 35 miles per hour. I don't know if the data is going to show it. We have had a couple accidents by the Lex and by Broadwell Oak subdivision. But for the record and for everyone's knowledge, listening, we do not control the speed limit. It goes, we do recommendations, it goes in front of council for a resolution based off recommendations, but the Georgia Department of Transportation and the Georgia Public Safety Office are the final approvals of the speeds. And that took a lot of phone calls over the last 2 days about this. So I wanted to get that out there so everyone could understand that Mayor and Council does not have the final say, whereas it's a recommending body, and the data will show what we can do. But working with public safety on this, particularly around Tommy Simpson and Rush in my office, collaborated, and we focused on downtown. We focused on cleaning up a lot of the roads like Canton Street, getting that to be 25 miles an hour all the way to Mayfield. And little areas throughout the downtown to just make it safer for pedestrians. 25 miles an hour is slow. It's safer for pedestrians. It's harder on the traffic flow. We understand that. So we're trying to do a nice balancing act and just do a lot of cleanup. Maxwell Road, south of 9, it was 40 miles an hour. We're requesting 25, and that's mainly due to Brady Place as well as a 9-foot wide lane that's right there. It might be 9.5 in some areas. So it's a very, very tight area compared to the 40 miles per hour that is closer to Henry Road that's inside the Roswell city limits that has 11.5, 12-foot lanes. So we're here for input, for discussion. Before we put all our data together, we'll come back in front of Mayor and Council, pass a resolution, and make sure that we are on the same page.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Most of the recommendations, as I see, limits the speed from 5 to 10 miles per hour at each of these locations. I would encourage the citizens to go and look at these. We've gotten a lot of complaints, especially in those pedestrian areas, so please do so. We will go to council comments at this time. Councilmember Hypes.
Thank you. And Pete, I appreciate the limitations that we may have as a council on ultimately affecting the outcome, but it is a workshop. And second comment is I greatly appreciate the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit changes in the downtown core area with all the pedestrians. I have a question about DeVore Road. Knowing that it's a narrow street, especially given the addition of the parallel parking, one of my concerns is as downtown traffic slows down, both from congestion and lower speed limits, I don't know that 35 miles an hour on DeVore is particularly fast, but I know 25 is a pretty slow speed limit when you're going through a school zone, for example. And it seems healthy to divert traffic from North Highway 9 over to West Side using DeVore, and to make that a viable option, and to have Waze and other traffic programs give that as a viable option to get around downtown. So of all the ones on here, DeVore is the one from a traffic flow point of view that I did not agree with 25 miles an hour. I don't know what the safety concerns are apart from parallel parked cars, and I don't know what our long-term prospects are to add a little shoulder to that road and widen the lanes without adding lanes. But I would sure like to encourage northbound Highway 9 traffic that's trying to get north of the city to give them an option that they don't want to avoid DeVore because it's 25 miles an hour.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Hypes. And Councilmember Richard, I believe you were next.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And Pete, thanks for putting this together for us. Just from a process standpoint, can you give us some timelines based on the workshop and then moving forward with recommendations to GDOT? Do we have a time frame that we would expect to see the final results or the final changes?
We'll do a study in the next couple of weeks for Mid-Broadwell Road. Do a speed study, see what that data comes back as, see if and bring forward a recommendation to council once that data comes in. So that's probably about a month out there. And then once that happens, you're looking at several months. I've seen it come back from GDOT and Public Safety with no comments in about 3 months. The quickest turnaround, I've also seen 6 to 9 months to get a final approval on some recommendations.
Is there anything we can do to try to encourage a quicker response?
The more data we provide them and the more specifics we have and the more we accommodate meeting with them to come outside, because some people that are reviewing don't understand what has been developed. Google Earth.
As far as the density is concerned?
And just, Google, yeah, exactly. Google Earth is great when it's flown over, but sometimes it's not capturing really what's out there.
Okay.
We had that challenge on parts of Thompson Street at one time.
Another question concerning Canton Street. I like the reduction down to the 25 mile an hour to Lily Garden. When you go west of Mayfield on Canton, does it move back up to 35?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when we come into the city of Milton, what is the speed at that point?
I want to say 45. And I'm glad you brought that one up because Sarah Leaders and I have been in conversation. Sarah Leaders is interim director of Public Works over in Milton. They have part of their T-Splosh 2 program. They are looking at developing ways to slow speeds down on several roads. That is one of the roads they're looking at. And we did a speed study before coming forward to you tonight, and it was sitting around 58, 60 miles per hour on their side. So they knew that we couldn't get the numbers for this go around, but collaboratively working together to figure out what we can do to lower the speeds as they enter into the city.
Good. I'd like you to, I think that should be a priority for us because that certainly is an area that we see a lot of dangerous speeding in. So appreciate your work.
They're on board.
Thank you.
Councilmember Binder.
Yeah. Pete, I think this is good. So just to confirm, we got an email from a resident about Mid-Broadwell. And then you said, so you'd like to suggest that going to 35 as well? So that'll
Correct.
be added on? Okay.
Well, we're going to let the data see where it comes back at.
Okay.
But we're also going to pull out all the traffic accident data as well. That's
Yeah.
a critical component of the reduction speeds as well.
Which there's been a few in that area.
There has been.
Okay. But then it leads me to the next question, and so I'm off of Rucker. It's a very similar communications that we've gotten from residents saying people are still speeding. So I think it's good in one sense that we're saying these should be the speed limits. But is there conversations with public safety or of how to enforce or either what we can do to have traffic calming or that kind of thing? Because like Academy is a good example where I see people speeding quite a bit in the evening, but police can only patrol so much. So
Yeah, so I think the first thing for Rucker is we need to do a traffic speed study there to figure out what the speed actually is.
Yep.
35, 39 miles per hour is fast, especially if you're walking. You feel the breeze come by. So see what the data comes back at before I say Rucker, people are doing what they were doing before. I do believe that numbers are down from Rucker pre-construction.
And that's my examples pre-roundabouts, because I think those kind of things have helped break up the speed. But things like Academy, we don't have that going in right now, or some of these other areas.
Correct. In Academy, we have some projects on the books, but we'll do a speed study out there in Rucker to help control some of that. I will work with when we get notification from the public of speeding concerns, one of the first things we do is reach out to public safety. So they'll let us know if they can run radar, if they can't run radar due to topography challenges. So, or line of sight as well. So we'll still keep communicating.
I think that's good, and we'll probably have to have presence there. I think the goal is to slow traffic down, not just slow the speed limits down. So this won't be the end-all, be-all, because people still keep blowing through.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further comments from council? All right, Pete, hopefully that gives you what you need to know. I too would agree with the Canton Street area. We've had complaints from that area, and I know that after COVID, the accidents have declined, but we continue to have comments for pedestrian traffic on that area has increased. It's increased all over town exponentially, but in that area, it certainly is something we hear a lot about. And I don't know if there's islands we can put in without doing a full roundabout or something to that effect, but if we could continue to explore that.
We'll explore all our options. They're called chicanes is the technical term.
Chicanes, thank you.
And they have been placed in Johns Creek off of Bice Road. I know people have mixed feelings about Bice Road. So there are different options there. But yes, we'll look at all our alternatives. We could also look at, too, in certain areas, if council so desires, a staggered approach as you're going to Canton. And instead of it going right from 25, going to 30 to a certain point as well. And we'll pull our data, see where we think a good spot of that occurs. But walkability is a key component to it.
Thank you. As soon as you can get the rest of that data, we'd love to hear any future feedback on where you are on that. All right. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
That completes our workshop session of tonight's council meeting, and it takes us into public comment section. Ms. Cobb, do we have any public comment cards?
Yes, sir. Burdell Jackson, 1055 Chasewood Trail, Alpharetta.
Okay. If you'd keep your comments under 3 minutes, and we welcome you to come speak.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I was here a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to update you on what has been put out in the media and the official statement from the city. And those comments are inconsistent with what was on the 911 call and the body cam video. So it was back to policy again, but the official statement doesn't say anything about the wife asking for an ambulance when the 911 call said that, as well as the body cam video. So my concern is that it should have been a health call as opposed to a police matter. And that's really the concern that we have, as it should have been an ambulance or an EMT as opposed to several police and a police dog. And further, the police dog is again on the person to, quote, subdue him when he was on his own property. No offense had been committed. And the report says he had his fist balled up. Well, you had 8 policemen there with 8 guns and 8 tasers. So who was the threat? So these are concerns that I have as a black man. If something happens to me on my home and cops show up and I'm having a mental issue, the presence of the cops are going to only exacerbate rather than de-escalate, because we've never used that word in any of the statements that you've said. So the more police that show up, especially you got 8 policemen out there, and then you have a dog come out, you've not de-escalated the situation. That's part of the policy that I was speaking about last time. So this is really the concern that we have. If you have a mental issue, the more you throw gasoline on the fire, the bigger the fire is going to get. So why would the man not want her to enforce his own castle? This is the castle doctrine. You're on his property. He hasn't done anything that warrants a police person coming on his property, even though the stepson called. And as for the police, the mother countermanded that during the 911 call. So the 911 dispatcher should have, from a mechanical standpoint, said, send an EMT as opposed to the police and a police dog. So your statement, the city's statement, is inconsistent with what is on record. So my concern is that this needs to be cleaned up. And number two, the policing needs to respect the person's property. If he's having a mental you're exacerbating. So that's part of the training that we talked about. Train, there's Emory, there's Morehouse. They have programs to help you de-escalate, or the police to de-escalate the situation. That's really what I want to make known to this body. So that's really what we have to do with the police commissioner. He's spoken to us about how well trained his staff is. And we have a good municipality. Let's train our people to deal with the situation as it's called for, because that's really what exacerbated this. No need to use a dog. Thank you. Appreciate you listening to my comments.
Jackson, as a longtime resident of our city, we appreciate your comments. This is a matter of ongoing litigation, so there won't be any public comment tonight, but thank you for being here and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maggie Goldman, 9605 Stony Ridge Lane, Alpharetta.
I was disheartened to see the results of the Alpharetta Police Department's internal investigation of the use of force in Travis Moya's case. You should be working to make sure an incident such as this doesn't happen again. Nothing in this report indicates there were any efforts to change or improve any policies or training. I have listened to the 911 call, I have watched the body cam video, I have read the written reports by the 2 officers involved, I have read the use of force policies and the canine use of force policies. Several things do not correlate between the police department's statement and the facts that are obvious for anyone to see. I don't have time to address all of the discrepancies, so I will address just one. Your department refutes that it was a mental health call. I don't know how it could be much clearer. The stepson said his stepfather was outside growling. When asked if he had destroyed any property, he actually said no. He might have been concerned about escalation, but there was nothing to indicate there was any domestic violence at this point. Then the wife got on the line, indicated she wanted an ambulance to have him given a mental evaluation. Even if dispatch had already sent police and not an ambulance, dispatch should have changed course at this point. Even so, when the police did arrive and the wife spoke to the police, she reiterated that she thought he was on something and that she wanted medical intervention. When the officer asked if he'd committed any crimes, the wife said no, only that he had punched the outside of his own house. If nothing else, at this point, the officer should have called for an ambulance and monitored the situation until such ambulance arrived. It's my understanding an ambulance was never called until after the dog bite. If they had been able to arrest him, for no obvious reason, what would have occurred? Is there a mental health ward in a nearby hospital? If so, I assume no charges would have been filed. It sounds like you need clearer procedures and an actual plan when you encounter a mental health call. Be happy to put you all in touch with the Crisis Intervention Team in Johns Creek, a newly launched effort to specifically address mental health issues. You should very seriously consider adding such an effort to your city's emergency response. It's quite clear whatever you're doing now isn't working. I've put in a request to see how the Fulton County District Attorney's Office or the Sheriff's Office might have some resources to help you independently evaluate your department's policies and help you establish a type of crisis intervention team. If any member of this council has not watched the body cam for yourself, I urge you to do so, because everyone I have shown it to cannot believe that it happened. I need you to ask yourselves, is this how you would expect your own family to be treated? Maybe I'll do an open records request to see how often a dog bite is used in the course of an arrest in Alpharetta. Because if this is so acceptable, you'd be doing it all the time, right?
Thank you, Ms. Goldman. All right, are there any other public comment cards?
No, sir.
Okay. That moves us on to reports. Are there any reports tonight? Councilmember Merkel.
Yeah, just Morgan wasn't able to be here tonight. We were going to just inform everybody that probably by the end of this week, between Morgan and Bob and I, we'll have a MOU for football. We're taking these on one at a time versus bunching them together because they have different circumstances. One of the circumstances that comes into these is facilities. So when we've got equal facilities, we feel there's no need for increased funding from each person. And then the second issue is, as you all saw when we're addressing this right now with the coach, is the participation. And we've always felt that programs need to be equally accessible by residents. And as we saw from that email on the softball, that coach mentions multiple times, I think at least 3 times, that their goal is to be highly competitive and get in front of colleges to get kids scholarships. And that's a different level than recreation. We do offer travel. We do offer some higher level sports in some of the arenas like baseball and softball in this case. But it's not like the private organizations that can go recruit kids. A good friend of mine's daughter played very competitive softball in Alpharetta. They moved to another league because they wanted to recruit. They actually had a kid from South Carolina driving down to practice and play. So we're going to talk to Coach Sal and kind of walk through where we are with it. And then next week, I'm hoping to definitely have football done, and we'll be working on softball at the same time.
Thank you. It's rare that Director Rogers is not here, but thank you for bringing that up and working on that issue. Councilmember Burnett?
I would like to put Michael Simmons on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I have given his information to Aaron and James. Thank you.
Okay. Did you get that name, Ms. Cobb? All right. Any other? All right. Councilmember Hypes?
Just a note to the public that the city of Alpharetta and in conjunction with the Rotary Club of Alpharetta will be holding a 9/11 ceremony beginning at 8:30 in the morning on the town green on Saturday, September 11th. I think we have 2 more meetings, council meetings before then, and I would just encourage anyone who's interested to attend and also to spread the word to friends and neighbors. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hypes. Any other reports? I would just like to mention that Wednesday, and a few of us were there in the audience, the Hotel Hamilton opened, and what a tremendous addition to our city, to our downtown that is. And if you've not been able to go by and see that, it's great. I'd like to thank Mayfair Street Partners and also Hotel Equities for investing in our city and all their investment partners, which are numerous, too numerous to mention, but what they have brought to our city and to our downtown is just an impeccable hotel. And I think once you see it, you will love what you see. So congratulations, and I hope they do really well. So without any further reports from the council, I feel like I'm a Jeopardy host and need to thank Alex Trebek and thank all of you for bearing with me tonight. And this meeting is now adjourned. I'm sorry? I have another one.